Lisa Novak, welcome to our series that is the All I.T series focusing on the northern beaches of Sydney. This is a series of successful individuals, successful businesses, their journey, showcasing their success, and we're thrilled to have you on, Lisa. Obviously, you're a very prominent face of the northern beaches. Many would know you, and we're just talking just before we started that if you don't know Lisa and Lisa's face, you would certainly know the business as you drive through DY. It's you don't live on the beaches and not know Novak properties and your office. It's certainly, but it's probably a good place to start. Tell us about, it's a pretty important part to your business, isn't it? I mean, it's a prominent location. It's trendy. It's on point. It's not like anything else, even in Sydney or probably Melbourne, for that matter of a fact. And it's a pretty important part of the business, isn't it?
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, no, I'm really excited to be here. It is, I'm often saying to people, if you're crazy enough to dream it, you're crazy enough to do it. And I think that sort of sums things up with our Novak HQ. So Mark, my husband, and myself started Novak Properties 22 years ago. We were very young and probably very naive as well when we started the business. Mark was just 23 years of age.
Wow.
And we've always been really different. When we were looking at starting our own agency, we looked at so many different franchises and we just kept coming back to the fact that we just were not going to be able to conform to a brand. And not being able to conform to a franchise model. So 22 years ago, to go out on your own as an independent was just an enormous risk.
Yeah. So in regards to that, so obviously so Mark was 23. Okay, this is amazing. This doesn't, I mean, it's unheard of, right? So obviously, Mark in his own right is, a very successful agent, and you've only got to go to your website and look at all the awards. You're a top 100 agent yourself. Talk us through your journey at that time, and were you in real estate at the time, and how did you kick off yourself in your initial journey in real estate?
No, I wasn't actually. I wasn't involved in the business 22 years ago. We had a very young child at the time. Now we've got adult kids. But, I was needed at home. I was a stay-at-home mum at the time. And I would come into the office every now and then and just help out a little bit. And as the kids grew older, I transitioned more and more into the business, but more in an admin capacity and then in a marketing capacity. And then later on, I moved into a GM role within the business. But I'd always wanted to be in real estate sales. That's what I always wanted to do. And I got to 46 and thought, it's now or never. Like, I need energy to be able to do this. The kids were grown up and I had the capacity to be able to do that within the business. So 5.5 years ago, I literally launched headfirst into real estate sales. But it allowed me to observe so many things coming in later at 46 into sales.
Right.
And also just sitting on the sidelines of the business and the industry from the outside looking in just allowed me to observe a lot and allowed me again to just sort of catapult to where I am in a very, very short span of time.
Okay, interesting. So talk us through, obviously, I've been, to be completely open and transparent, really, following you as an agent through social media, which is, obviously so powerful, and we'll get to, some of the detail around that in a little bit. But I've probably been following you. I think I have a feeling it was around COVID, but maybe a touch prior to COVID. Obviously, it's a massive part of your business is your social profile and what have you, and rightly so. You attack it in, I think, and I'm making a few assumptions here, but it's through my perspective, totally different way to a lot of agents. And I know I follow a lot of agents in both Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and all around the country. It's a massive part of your business. And the thing that I could probably highlight, and I'll get you to expand on, is you have a sense of immediacy, and it's almost like you're live all the time and your updates and you're bringing property live. Talk us through your social media strategy, because it seems to be a raving success and part of your methodology and success into how you sell so much property.
Thank you. So, and it is, it's a huge part of what I do. It, 5.5 years ago when I came into real estate sales, Tom, one of the things that I had observed was that real estate was slow. And I couldn't
Mm.
understand why. Why did it take so long for agents to respond to inquiries? Why did everything have to be on the real estate portals, which do a great job, right? They do a huge amount of heavy lifting. But we had this thing called social media, and it was so underutilized. And so I had listed it just to give you a little bit of a background on how I actually started with it all. I saw that it was extremely underutilized in our industry, and that's where all the eyeballs were.
Mm.
And also, the Manly Daily, if you remember it, was starting to transition out. So, the newspaper became obsolete, the local newspaper, no more real estate section. And I was like, okay, well, what's replacing this? It's social media. And a lot of agents weren't using it. I had a vendor who had contacted me. I'd only been in sales maybe 6 months, and I had a vendor who had contacted me. He was ill, very ill, and he had no money for marketing, and I was happy to pay that for him. He absolutely refused. And I thought, okay, look, there's two things. I'm either going to sit on the phone and call all the buyers, um, or I'm going to just give this social media thing a crack and do a video and put it out onto my Facebook. So that's exactly what I did. I held up my phone, did this awful raw video, put it out onto my Facebook page, and quite quickly I received a phone call from a real estate agent, and she said, "Lisa, I've just seen your video on Facebook." I was, "You have?" She said, "Yes, it's awful, so unprofessional. You should take that down. I don't think you would know, but this is not the way we real estate." And I went to delete that video and took a moment and thought, hang on a sec, this is not about what people in the industry think about the awful video. This is about a client with a need. And, if I can somehow assist him there with getting his property sold, then this is a great thing. So I kept the video up and I sold the property the next day, true story, right off my Facebook page. And that really opened things up for me, Tom. I thought, well, you know what? There's people that have this need to get their property sold. They don't always have money to go onto the real estate portals. And some of them just don't want to. They don't want to do a hard launch onto the real estate portals. So I continue doing the awful, in inverted commas, raw videos and realize people are happy with that. They're happy to see it first. They're happy to get the information quickly before it launches out to the real estate portals. And I have to say, it's been a raving success for the buyers and sellers. It really has.
Lisa, just a quick question. So Facebook Live and Instagram Live and even LinkedIn Live now, for most people, is quite a daunting task. Public speaking in front of the camera, it's not something that people normally do. So
Yeah.
talk us through that very first time that you decided to hit record on that Facebook video. Were you worried about how you looked? Were you just wanting to sell? Were you actually just wanting to help your client out? Did you have any of those sorts of thoughts before you hit record?
100%. So I think the big thing, and Dexter, I hear this all the time, because people are genuinely, and I get it, they're genuinely worried about what other people are going to think of them. This wasn't about me and how I looked on the camera and how awful I thought I sounded and looked. This was needing to help a client who was terminally ill and had to get his property sold. So I think when we take the onus off ourselves and we put it to other people, this is what we have to do. This is part of where we need to be in this day and age. And we take the onus off ourselves. It makes things just a little bit easier. It really does. We're always quick to be critical of ourselves, but I guess the flip side is we're here to help people. That's the most important thing. And, and if we need to put ourselves into this awkward space on social media in order to do that, then that's just kind of part of the job really now.
I like that answer of yours. I'm going to take you back to that same area again. Now, you mentioned, was it the Manly Daily, the paper that you were just talking about
Yes,
before?
correct.
You
Yes.
mentioned how that was on the way out and social media was coming in. Now, I'm kind of detecting a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit there. Was that always in you, or were you somehow able to put one and one together and thinking that social media is it? because I've been in many situations where I've seen technology, and had I jumped on it at the first time I've seen it, I'd be in a different position now. But you were at the right place, right time, and were able to recognize that social media will be the next platform, if you will, for all sorts of different things. Have you
Yeah.
always had that sort of business mentality?
We have. I must say, both Mark and myself. If you remember how I started the interview, if you're crazy enough to dream it, you're crazy enough to do it. And so, we've always, we feel like we've often been pioneers of so many things, and social media was definitely one of those things. You only need to walk into our office, which we built 8 years ago, and it looks absolutely nothing at all like a real estate office. It's got a 6-metre antipasto bar. Don't forget, we built it 8 years ago. It's got an indoor garden. We've got a massive chandelier. It's got huge street frontage. It resembles something of an Apple store. When we built that, people thought we were crazy. And now we see lots and lots of real estate offices that have a similar look. You hear a lot of noise along the way when you're the first to do things as well. Like the lady who said, "What are you doing? Those awful unprofessional videos." And now lots of people do those awful unprofessional videos. You only need to go onto TikTok and places like that to see. That's how we like to view content these days. But, just getting back to your question with the newspapers, and did I foresee that they were going to become obsolete? One of my frustrations before I came into real estate sales 5.5 years ago was these slow timelines, and everything revolved around a weekly publication of the newspaper, which would come out on a Thursday. So, we knew we had 7 days to get the photos and get them back and proof the ads for the newspaper, and everything revolved around that. And I was like, that's so slow. So someone lists a property with me and I can't have it out into a newspaper for a week. And then I can literally go live on my phone and have it out within 1 second. So if we look at the way we all live our lives these days, I would say convenience and speed is our new currency. If you just
100%.
think about the way we order an
I
Uber.
could not agree more with you. I mean, I was
Yeah.
watching on the other day one of your videos. I think you were in Freshwater at a 2-bedroom unit, and you were there with all your sales agents, of a number of them, live video, walking through the property. Some would say, in a traditional sense, not the full polish of what it is, but it's what's producing results. Obviously, I mean, it's clear. I mean, I see you all the time. You were live on thing, and then the next day you've sold the property. Is that a common occurrence?
Common, very common. So,
Wow.
and look, at the end of the day, the people vote. So irrelevant to what the person sitting on the sidelines, maybe at another real estate office, is saying about the videos, they're unprofessional, all the salespeople are walking through. The buyers go, "Thank you, Lisa, for letting us see it, in its raw, authentic state." Because sometimes a buyer will arrive at an open home and it looks nothing at all like what they saw in the photos. And so people respect that they're seeing it real and raw, and they love that they're seeing it first. So, but the people vote. So the buyers say they thank me, and the sellers, they're saying, well, this is good because I don't even know if I want to sell my property. If I got the right price, I'm a seller, but I don't want to be all over the real estate portals and have a digital footprint in case I don't get the price. And also that's a really important thing. And they're not even sure whether or not they want to sell. They're totally price driven. So this is not here to replace the likes of realestate.com and Domain. Please understand that. This is giving people options. And if you follow the eyeballs and if you listen to what the people want, there lies all the truths. That's it.
Fascinating. And this is obviously, something interesting I find about you, Lisa, is that you're in that sort of hive of activity in DY, where there's a lot of stock, or potential stock and turnover, and you clearly, the number one agent in the area doing this. But now I see you moving. I notice you're in Mossman. and you're catering from $500,000 through to a very high level of real estate. Has that always been the case for you, or has that been an evolution of your client base and what have you?
It's been an evolution, Tom, because, look, you're quite right. I started off listing and selling. Again, we're based in DY and, we've got lots of apartments here. So naturally, I was listing and selling a lot of those. It's funny how it has changed over the years because, a lot of people would say to me, well, that's all good, Lisa, with your social media strategy. And that's not all I do, by the way, but that's a huge part of what I do that has really, I guess, been a point of difference. But people were saying, well, that's all good and well when you're selling, $700,000 to $1 million properties, but there's no chance you're going to, be able to sell a $20 million property that way. It's changed a lot. So, people's thought processes have changed. I was also awarded to sell Manly's most iconic house about a year and a half ago now. And I took out a record there. I'd never sold a house in Manly before, but then I took a record per square metre, $21.5 million. And funnily enough, the buyer actually saw the property on Instagram. The buyer saw the property on Instagram. So we did all the marketing in the world. We're on every real estate portal. It was actually a friend of the buyer who'd seen it on Instagram and flicked it over to the person who ended up purchasing the property. Things have changed. Whether you're a CEO or whether you are a 21-year-old looking to buy your first property, I would say most people these days are on social media in one form or another. It's the TV of today.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa, for that answer. It's something that Tom and I are working hard to do in the IT space. And so my question to you is, you've been quite innovative in the real estate industry, in the real estate space. How do you stay fresh in terms of ideas and trying something different? I'm all about trying different things, and obviously you are as well, and you're very successful at that. So are you where you are now and happy to stay there? Or are you trying other things? Are you trying to, say, use TikTok, maybe guerrilla marketing, other sorts of marketing ideas? What are you working on these days?
You can't stop. You just can't, because someone always overtakes you. So, you've always got to be coming up with new ideas. And I'm no different to anyone else. I'm absolutely not. But what I am good at doing is really just honing in on what it is that the people want, asking the people, what is it that you want? They want the information fast. People want that convenience. Like, as I said, that is our currency. And so really honing in on what that looks like for people. How can we get things to them faster? As I said, really honing in on that speed and convenience. And I think there lies the clues for a lot of the ideas that we do come up with. Making
speed and convenience. Just to touch base there, I know speed and convenience in regards to, and this has annoyed me no end with a number of real estate agents over my career looking at property and what have you. You send an inquiry in, might be at 6 o'clock at night, nothing back. Like, I mean, nothing back at all. Yeah. And then sometimes hours and days. That's not Novak, is it?
Oh, that is definitely. You should send us an inquiry. You would be floored at how quickly we'll get back to you. In fact, I often have people saying, I'd love it if I could speak with Lisa Novak, or I'd love it if I could speak with Billy from Novak. And it's like, oh, no, you are. I'm not a robot. I am a person. You are speaking with me. And that's on inquiry. That's on social media. That's with my phone. That's with me getting back to you. That's across all sectors of what we do. We have a policy in our office. Email inquiries must be answered within 10 minutes, and it is not automated.
Wow. So, 10 minutes. So I'm going to get to some of the other pillars of success in a little bit, but just talk us through. It's probably a good segue into a day in the life of Lisa Novak. Obviously, real estate's on all the time. I watch a lot of entrepreneurial videos, and the ones, I don't know whether you noticed, but in a lot of these entrepreneurial videos, people love like the day in the life. So talk us through, obviously you're on all the time, and I want to get to how you deal with the stresses of being on all the time. I mean, you can't not, if you're answering emails and inquiries within 10 minutes, you're not sort of sitting around, sipping lattes all day. But talk us through
Like
what
coffee.
happens in your day, and I mean, today is obviously a good example. I saw your video this morning, and we'll talk about one of the pillars later of trust, and you were talking through that. So you're on socials all the time. You've got an open house after this, and a number of things. Talk us through a typical day.
So no day is the same. And, that's what I love. I love the thrill of waking up and going, what's going to happen today? It's got to come from a place of really loving what you do. And as cliche as that may sound, and I'm always saying it to my team, guys, are you enjoying what you're doing? Because if you're not, don't be here. Go do something that you love. I genuinely love what I do. And don't get me wrong, right? There's days when I'm just like, oh my God, everything goes wrong. But then you know that tomorrow it's just going to get better. But I do honestly love what I do. The day, what does the day look like? It's a lot. So, I get up quite early, 5:30, 6 o'clock. I try and get up and do a nice walk in the morning. I call it walking my mind, and I usually do that with Mark, my husband. And I'll always check my phone the minute I wake up, grab all the inquiries very early on, get a bit of social media out, go for a walk, have a coffee, not be on my phone for that 1 hour, and then I'll pick up my phone again at about 7:30 in the morning, and it's game on from there. So, looking at what the diary looks like for the day, prepping myself, making notes. I have a team meeting every single morning with the team. We cover off everything that's got to be done for the day. And then off we go. There's lots of appraisals, open homes, catching up with buyers, catching up with my vendors every single day. I communicate with my vendors in one way or another. WhatsApp is my life. And then the day usually finishes up I walk out the office door usually at about 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And then I'll go home, have something to eat, see my kids. I have children. And then probably jump back on my phone again for an hour and then go to bed. It's not for everyone, Tom. It's a fast life. It's honestly not for everyone.
Any business, and we've got a number of people before and after you on this successful, as I said, successful people on the beaches. And I can guarantee you that whether it's real estate or manufacturing or professional services, you don't do any of that at a high level without just hard work. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but you can't get away from the hours, can you?
No, you can't escape the hours. And so literally 2 minutes before I came on here, I had a lovely real estate agent send me a text. And she said, Lisa, I'm a mum, a single mum. I've got 2 kids and I really struggle with the balance. And how do you do it all? You make it all look easy. It's really important for people to understand it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, and it's definitely not for everybody. I would get to the end of a week and go, I haven't even sat at home with my family and had a meal. And this is ridiculous because I'm not going to miss an open home and I'm not going to miss an auction. Why am I missing having dinner at home with my kids and my husband? So I started to put some not negotiables into place. And that is Tuesday nights, I will be out the door by 6 o'clock, no matter what. I can be called into a $20 million sign up. I will be out the door at 6 o'clock, not negotiable, at the dinner table, 2 hours with my kids. And as I said, they're adult kids, 18 and 26. And then Friday night, same thing, dinner at home with the family, 6:30 to 8:30, no phones, with the kids, with my husband, with my mum. And Sundays, I try and just have a little bit of downtime. I won't work, as in I won't come into the office on a Sunday. I will be on my phone if I need it, but I would definitely try and have a little bit of relaxation time.
And obviously amongst all of that, not just the hours, but I know real estate, we look after a number of high-profile real estate agents across the country. And one of the things that I take away from them in just sort of day-to-day interaction is that you're dealing with a high amount of emotion on both sides of the equation. Well, on probably three major sides of the equation. You've got staff, you've got vendors and buyers. That's a unique thing. Have you, in terms of, you've been doing this, but you've been observing for obviously longer than the 5 or 6 years you've been actively doing real estate and watching Mark. Is that something, and probably a personal question, is that something that you get better at over the years in terms of dealing with those emotions from all of those sides?
Yeah, look, I often feel as a real estate agent, you are actually part counsellor and part psychologist, because we are dealing in so many circumstances with people where someone has passed away, or someone's getting divorced, or they've got other terrible circumstances like they're in debt. So you are dealing with heightened emotions. I mean, without going into detail, I had a vendor on the phone yesterday. They're terribly stressed. I mean, she was, not in a great way. And so just to call her this morning and say, I'm not calling for anything else except just to see how you are. We're humans dealing with humans. And often people just need someone who will just listen to them. This is not about how much GCI I can earn in a year. This job is about what can we do to help people. And if that is listening to someone, if that is taking the stress away by looking after their property, if that is getting their property onto social media, it all falls under that umbrella. But at the end of the day, that's my job. My job is to help people. Yeah. And if I can get paid as a result of that, then lucky me.
Yeah. Talk us through some of the other pillars. Obviously, we've extensively spoken about social media, and that's obviously one. But talk us about some of the, because again, in all these, in everyone successful that we interview, there's some common themes. But I'll let you talk to what some of the other pillars of your success have been in terms of, take away the technology and the social media and all those sorts of things. But some of these core foundational things that make you tick as a person and make you, obviously so successful with vendors, because obviously it starts with the vendor journey and then into the buyer journey. But what are those things for you, and have they changed over the years?
No, they haven't. The fundamentals are always the same. And again, I think just as you said, Tom, you see the common theme throughout anyone who's done well in their career. There's a huge amount of organisation that goes into it. And if you're not, I'm a highly organised person, but if you're not a highly organised person, you usually find that person is underpinned by someone who is. And then people always talk about the team. It's not me. It's not the Lisa Novak show. There's so many people that are under me. Sorry, that's a bad choice of words. Beside me, helping me, right, to hold the foundations up.
Yeah.
We do work as a team. I'm very close with my team. And they're the ones that are just helping to, the wheels to turn day in, day out. I'm very good at making sure that everyone is sticking to their lane, though. So, I've got 2 members of my team that assist with my buyers. They also assist with high level of admin work. And then I've also got Thomas, who's my junior assistant, for use of a better word. He looks after a lot of my admin, keeps me super organised. So, there's a lot that's going on as well in the background to make this all work. So, it's important to have the structure, be organised, or have someone that will keep you organised, and consistency. Just drawing back to that social media. I mean, a lot of people say to me, they tried the social media thing for a couple of weeks, they didn't get anything. Like with anything in life, you've got to be consistent with it to get the results, whether it's social media, whether it's checking in with your vendors daily, whatever it may be. But the consistency is absolutely key.
Talk us through the people component, because, as you say, it's a big area, and obviously you've got in your team, you've got a large team, you've got a number of other very successful sales agents. I mean, you've only got to look at Mark's success, and I know that from just observation of being around the beaches. But talk us through, obviously, it's not for everyone, real estate. I'd imagine you have people come into your agency and into the industry and work out pretty quickly that it's not what they thought it would be. And I'd
Right.
imagine you're very diligent, and I would imagine, and this is a presumption, but you would expect the same out of your team. Talk us through how that works with your team, and obviously you've got to be, in some senses, pretty hard because obviously you're setting a standard, and then the people that have trusted you to sell their property or buy property or whatever it may be expect similar standards across the board. It's a challenge, I'd imagine, Lisa.
It is a challenge. So, looking at the people, so if we just talk about the team for a moment, and even the people that work here at Novak, I mean, we're a staff of 50. So we're a large office. Within my team, there's myself and 3 other team members. It took me a long time, Tom, to understand. It really took me a long time to understand that not everyone wants what I want. And that's a really important thing to consider, because as a highly driven person, someone who came into real estate sales at 46, I was like, well, if I'm going to sacrifice so much being at home with my children and all the other things that I was going to sacrifice, I want to be number one. I don't want to be anything else. Otherwise, I just don't want to do this. So I was extremely determined to do whatever it took to do that. It was my own personal challenge. And I wanted to make a major, major difference. But it took me a long time to realise not everyone wants what I want. People don't want to wake up at 5:30 in the morning and they don't want to clock off at 10:30 at night. They don't want to work 6 to 7 days a week. Most people don't. Some do. But that's okay, because I have the choice of not having to have those people work alongside me either. And there's other roles within our business that we can give them. There are some roles where you can clock on at 8:30 and clock off at 5:30, but then they also can't expect all the things that come along with working those big, long hours. But as I said, that's a really important thing. Not everyone wants what you want. And it came to me one day and I just thought, this is unbelievable. Doesn't everyone want to just like work really hard and be successful and
No, they're
help?
not all the same as you.
Yeah. What's that?
They're not all the same. They don't. Everyone doesn't have the same levels of motivation, and people are going through different stages of life, right?
100%, 100%. And again, it's making sure then that those people that don't want that, they don't want to work the crazy hours, and maybe they don't want to reap those rewards in inverted commas that come along with all of that. Just, they're living their best life. And good on them. And sometimes I will look over and think, look at the people that are sitting in the park reading a book and think, I rate that. How do those guys, how do they lie in a park and read a book? Maybe I should try that one day.
I don't think you could. You wouldn't last long, I don't think, Lisa.
I remember Mark took me, it's going back years ago. It's like, we need a holiday. We need to get away. And he took me to Tahiti and I thought, oh, my God, I'm going to lie on a deck chair with that crystal blue water and I'm not going to do anything for 5 days.
Oh, yeah.
Not a thing. And I lasted about 5 hours. I was like, I'm bored. Is there anything to do?
Oh, that's awesome. And obviously, I bring this up in nearly every podcast, and Dex is probably sick of me talking about it. But communication is, I think, the pillar of our business. I think it's the pillar of any success. It's a theme. And we've broadly spoken about communication without sort of directly speaking to it. But again, it comes back with the consistency piece. It's if you're not doing communication at the right level, with the right people at the right times, with the right consistency, then it's all a waste of time. Obviously, it's changed. One of the things you mentioned in the conversation was WhatsApp. I'm a big believer in face-to-face. I mean, we're doing this virtually, and it's a powerful tool. Obviously, phone calls, obviously, and then text message. How do you get that level right? Is everyone different? I've also noticed with some of our very high-profile clients that you would never have texted them 5 years ago. But now we have, some very wealthy individuals, some very successful individuals well into their 80s and 90s that are texting. So it is changing, but how do you get that level? How do you get that mixture right?
Well, you get to learn to read the play. So, I've got some clients. The first thing I do when I list a property is set up a WhatsApp group with everyone. It's just a really clean line of communication. But then you've got some elderly vendors, as you mentioned, Tom. They have no idea about WhatsApp. So you get to read the play with what is the best form of communication for that person. Because I've got an elderly vendor at the moment who's 91. Trying to get that vendor onto WhatsApp or even an email is a near impossible feat. And he loves a phone call or face-to-face. So I know that's how I communicate with that vendor. I've got other vendors that say to me, Lisa, please don't bombard me. I won't look at WhatsApp. Just let me know when there's an offer. Fine, fair enough. I've got other vendors that say, please don't give me any negative feedback. I've got too much going on in my life. Just tell me the good stuff. No problem. So, most people are very happy to be on WhatsApp and for me to call them to give them important updates or offers. So it's just reading the play. And again, give people what they want. You'll win hearts everywhere. Give people what they want. But no one ever said to me, you're over communicating and telling me too much about my property. No one ever said that.
Yeah.
But
Thanks, Lisa.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Just to add to that, sorry, guys. What people will say is that I didn't hear enough what's going on. If a vendor's asking you what's happening with our property, you're not communicating to them enough.
There's still something to say. I often say to our team, there's still something to say. Totally different industry, but we deal with some highly stressful information, some situations where, with technology, I mean, if technology stopped for you today, Lisa, you wouldn't, you'd be severely hampered in your ability. You can't WhatsApp, you can't do social, what have you. So we also deal with a lot of high stress information, and sometimes there's no information to tell, but that's still information. You still could communicate that, and it's still very valid. Don't be quiet. Sometimes we haven't resolved a situation, or there's something outside of our control, but that's still an update, right? And same applies, I'd imagine, to real estate.
100%.
No news is some news.
But, I couldn't agree more, Tom, but, often there are tasks that have been done and we just didn't report it to the client. So I'm a huge believer. I say to my team every single day, for every action, tell the client. Every action. Because in real estate, just to get a client's property onto the market or out, whatever that looks like, social media, the real estate portals, I can tell you now, there's been thousands of things that we've done to get to that. Tell them. You'd be super happy if I said, Tom, just letting you know, we're just putting together the email blast. Photos have come in. We're just putting together the email blast. That's about to go out to 5,000 people on our database. And then imagine a few hours later if I said, great news, we've sent the email out and we've had about 12 inquiries come through just from the database. I just want to keep you updated there. You're not going, oh my God, why is she telling me? You're going, this woman's amazing. This team's unbelievable. Tell the client all the things that you're doing, because if you tell them nothing, but you've done 200 tasks, they think you're doing nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Lisa. I know you're pressed for time and I've been dying to ask this question since we started. Describe Novak Property 5 years from now.
Oh, wow. This is a good question. 5 years from now, things are changing so quickly. If I even look at where we were as a business 5 years ago, things have changed significantly, but we're not reinventing wheels. Things just got faster. They got more convenient. And so what does that look like for us? 5 years ago, when I started doing a lot of my social media stuff and we did as an agency, we thought and people thought we were crazy. But now we know it works. We know that's what the people want. So there's definitely more of that. In fact, I've actually just put on a full-time videographer who's going to come and follow me around so that I can not only get out my content faster, but I can do things just a little bit differently for other platforms.
Very Ryan Serhant of you, Lisa.
I'm so sorry.
A very Ryan Serhant of you from the States. He's got a full-time video. Well, he's got full-time videographers everywhere, I think.
Yeah, well, this is going to sound crazy, but I've had enormous success off a lot of those social media platforms. Instagram's been very kind.
Yeah.
I get a huge amount of following and business there. LinkedIn, likewise. Facebook, the same. But Facebook is a little bit old now. And so then TikTok took over. And I thought, it's going to be a walk in the park. Right across all my video content. I'm gonna smash it there on TikTok. It's been abysmal, absolutely abysmal. So, but different content on there. So a content creator there for TikTok is what I'm going to be doing. But just making sure that we are doing things faster and more convenient for the clients. That's what the next 5 years looks like.
Great.
Not reinventing.
Well, I think we know from Mark's success, and then you've come into the business in a full capacity. You've been a raving success. As I said, if you've even fleetingly visited the beaches, you know who Novak is from your street presence. If you've been searched around social media for property on the beaches, you certainly know who Lisa Novak is. Lisa, thanks so much for coming on. Today's chat was really about a way to profile you in some of the in a short period, not necessarily about the real estate market as such. We want to make these interviews sort of timeless because obviously, particularly in your market, things are changing so often. We'd love to have you back on. Thank you so much for your insight. Congratulations on what has been already an amazing story and success of Novak and yourself and your team. And obviously, ultimately, it's about the success of the properties that you sell for the vendors that you represent. So thank you. And we will tag you in all. If you don't follow Lisa on particular, I follow you on Instagram, Lisa. You can. It's not hard to find, and I just think I'm not in the process of buying or selling at the moment, but I find your content and Mark's to be a value add. Whether you're looking for a property in Dee Why or a $20 million house in Mossman, it's interesting from a business perspective what you're doing. And as Dex said, over the next 5 years, it'll be fascinating to see how you adapt and change and get ahead of the market. So again, thank you so much. And we look forward to having you on again.
Thank you so, so much. What a wrap. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you.